Well, there's a massive shake-up for Gridserve. Toddington Harper is the founder of Gridserve, and they've just announced plans to go global. Now, the UK business will continue to focus on expanding its own charging network. That's the Gridserve Electric Highway, and that's developing, delivering, operating new electric super hubs, forecourts, and heavy goods vehicle charging facilities. And where possible, that will always be powered by renewable energy and directly connected solar. Now, the Gridserve founder, along with his brother, he was co-founder and CEO, is Heston Harper. They'll now focus on building Gridserve Global. Roy Williamson will take over leadership of Gridserve in the UK. And the company's statement reads, the addition of Gridserve Global to support Gridserve in the UK will deliver unrivaled focus and technology leadership, which is critical for supporting partners globally with world-leading technology, building on all our successes to date and supporting the mission to move the needle on climate change. That was Toddington Harper, CEO of Gridserve Global. He continued, I'm so proud of what Gridserve has achieved so far, and I'm excited about what we can now achieve internationally through building on our technology leadership position into 2025 and beyond. Well, Gridserve business remains 100% focused on developing, delivering and operating an EV network that gives UK drivers the confidence to go electric with a great customer experience. And under Toddington's vision and leadership, the team has installed almost 1,500 charging bays at over 190 locations. And Gridserve has become a market-leading charge point operator, CPO. They say they're continuing to build on that success in 2024 and beyond, and will remain focused on the mission to deliver sustainable energy at the speed and scale needed to move the needle on climate change. So big move for Gridserve. Still, in my opinion, they have a problem with pricing. At 79 pence, don't forget the 20% discount they're currently offering. That one ends at the end of September. And unless something changes, that is going to go back up to 79 pence with no discounts, no memberships. And in my opinion, that one is not going to reach the sort of market that they are anticipating. So my opinion is we need to look out and see what they're going to be doing on pricing. And I've got two suggestions. The first one is they need to extend that discount. They can call it what they want, an autumn discount, a winter discount, a let's celebrate going globally discount, but they need to get the price down. They could also look at, like Tesla and Instavolt, providing an off-peak lower price for all of their charger networks. So people now have a choice. If they want to use Gridserve, they can do. Or they can offer memberships. So the memberships work, and the reason they work is because from the calculations are worked out quite carefully. If you pay, for example, £10 a month, and you get 30p off the price of the charging at every session, then there is an equation there to work out, which says if you only do one charge a month, the CPO will actually be quids in because you've paid for a month's discount and only used one session of it. And there'll be other people who really abuse the system, who will pay for a month and use it once a day or once a week. These are your commercial drivers, maybe. But in between there's a balance, and in general, if you pay a monthly fee and then give a discounted or totally free charge after that, there's an argument for it. Now, many of you will not have heard of Wesleyan, but they are a leading Birmingham-based mutual fund, and they're teaming up with BE.EV, BEV, I don't know how you pronounce it or whether it is initials. They're teaming up to install a 16-bay ultra-rapid EV charging hub in Wednesbury. This is in the Black Country. So it's going to go in at the Gallagher Shopping Park, and from the hub there'll be the latest ultra-rapid charging units and it'll be the largest installation in the Black Country. It's anticipated opening in 2024, and the target date is November. Now, the retail park is just off junction 9 of the M6, and the M6 is one of the UK's busiest motorways, and this junction is one of the busiest junctions. It's got an average daily traffic flow of over 140,000 vehicles. Busy road. Well, B.EV, they've been up and coming recently. I've featured them a few times in the pricing videos, and they're specialising now in moving into the ultra-rapid charging hubs. Before, they were mainly in the 50 kilowatt or 75 kilowatt range, so they're going up market. And these new ones, the ultra-rapid hubs, can charge a typical EV battery from 10% to 80% in under 20 minutes. So the hub's likely to appeal to some of those 140,000 drivers looking for a quick charge and comfort break on a long journey. And it could also pick in some of the shoppers who shop there. Well, one area that we always get complaints about for total lack of coverage is Ireland. So they must be pleased to hear that SSE, as Scottish and Southern Electric, so SSE Energy Solutions, are moving into Ireland, and they're going to put in a 10-bay facility. It's just off the M4, a place called Loch Shiva Corporate Park. It's Mullingar, County Westmeath, and it's going to be part of the plans to build 300 ultra-rapid EV charging hubs, renewable energy in the UK and Ireland in the next 5 years, with several sites already open and more under construction. Well, each bay has a charging capability of 150 kilowatts. Yeah, just barely scrapes in. Most cars nowadays coming out are able to charge faster than this. Anyway, so they say it's sufficient to deliver about 7 or 8 miles per minute of charging. It's not slow, it's just getting towards the slow end of what's desirable. Well, it's getting to be a complicated world out there. The supermarkets at one time just rented out their car parks to CPOs who set up whatever charges they want and charge whatever they want. And the supermarkets just saw it as a possible attraction to get people there who might not otherwise visit their store. But then they realised they were missing out, and one of the big supermarkets, Sainsbury's, set up Smart Charge recently. So they've actually become their own CPO, their charge point operator. So they buy EV chargers in. They install them themselves, using subcontractors obviously, and they run them. And this allows them to charge whatever price they like for the electricity they supply. But this is not going to come to every single Sainsbury's store. And the reason for that is that Sainsbury's do not own an awful lot of their own stores. And this applies to other supermarkets like Asda, like Tesco, like Morrison's. And what's happening these days is they're being taken over by corporations or finance companies or investment companies. So an investment company will buy up or start a retail park, and they will invite supermarkets to build there. But the supermarkets won't own those sites themselves. They will lease them, rent them off the overall company. And the overall company would then have control over what EV charging facility is going to be installed there. And we're starting to see this now around the country. One of the latest ones is Stonegate Group. And it's the UK's largest pub company. They've got over 4,500 sites. And they are actively engaged in sustainability efforts, and they're a member of the Zero Carbon Forum. So the installation of EV charging facilities is a fundamental element to them as part of a series of initiatives they have in place to minimise their environmental impact. So once again, I know they're going to make money out of them, but this is companies starting to become aware that we can't abuse the climate and our planet and the atmosphere forever. So they've partnered with Zest, and Zest themselves, they've got an ongoing rollout of partnerships with other retail and hospitality destinations nationwide. So that's developing an EV charging infrastructure that synchronises with people's daily lives. Now, if you look at ZapMap, who produce regular reports, they're reporting on the current state of EV charging out on the road. And their article is entitled "Road Tripping with an Electric Car Now Easier Than Ever." And they say that this summer, access to holiday beauty spots like Yorkshire Dales, Peak District, Lake District, the data they've got from themselves, ZapMap, and from BMW shows it's now easier than ever to travel there by electric vehicle. More than 21,000 EV charger points were added last year, and there are now over 66,000 charge points available across more than 34,000 locations. Now, end of quote, by the way. This is quite an amazing figure. 66,000 chargers, 34,000 locations. That's 2 chargers per location. That is unacceptable. We need the equivalent of what they have with petrol stations. Petrol stations is about 8,000 locations, and each of those has probably 10 or 12 pumps, petrol and diesel. And so they have something in the region of 80, 100, 120,000 pumps available to them. And that's serving 30 million cars, petrol cars. So we're up to 66,000 charge points, and that's absolutely brilliant. We're heading up towards having as many rapid and ultra-rapid chargers as there are petrol pumps and diesel pumps, which is a great start. But that statistic, just 2 charger points per location, is really sad, particularly when you go to some of the motorway services, which Charlotte Richards just down the road, for example. Apple Green there have got 16 bays, 180 kilowatts. Tesla alongside it has got 18 bays. Go to Rugby. There's now going to be 36 Gridserve chargers, and the Tesla is 32. So what those are the big hubs which are developing everywhere. So to install 66,000 chargers in 34,000 locations, and some of those are going in at 10 or 15, 20, 30 chargers per location. It means some must be just 1s and 2s. So that's not an encouraging statistic. Anyway, BMW has partnered with UK National Parks, and they've installed a total of 135 new EV charging points across all 15 of the UK's national parks. So of those 135, they've all been started, but 78 have actually already been installed. Graham Biggs, who's the Corporate Communications Director of BMW UK, said, "While the ever-growing number of EV charge points in the UK is encouraging, it's vital that the momentum is accelerated and that rural areas are not left behind in the EV transition. A spread of charges across the UK and into the countryside ensures that people can visit natural beauty spots this summer in the quietest cars and without tailpipe emissions, helping protect these precious places from noise and pollution." End of quote there. I'm going to come back to it, but that is a critical sentence. The quietest cars without tailpipe emissions, helping to protect precious places from noise and pollution. Anyway, go back to the quote. "We believe that nature should be protected and accessible for everyone, and that's why we're so proud of the work we're doing with the UK National Parks through the Recharge in Nature partnership." Well done, BMW. Praise where praise is due, credit where credit is due. This is great. It shows that a mainstream legacy auto, BMW have been around for an awful long time, is first of all taking EVs seriously, and the sales figures already tell them this, because in Europe recently, BMW very nearly matched Tesla sales. This was it was 1 month unfortunately, and there are other circumstances, but BMW EVs are doing an amazing job. And this is, well, the dilemma they have is they have a corporate communications director at BMW UK saying we need to stop tailpipe emissions, we need to stop noisy cars. At the same time, they're building noisy cars and tailpipe emissions in both their ICE and they're hybrids, because if you drive all the way up to a national park in your plug-in hybrid, you can pretty much guarantee by the time you get there the battery's been used up and you're back onto the motor. So they're having this dilemma, and it's interesting to be able to watch this and see where it goes. Now, a lot of people say I concentrate too much on rapid and ultra-rapid chargers, but let's go back to Zest. We mentioned them a little bit earlier. And Warrington Borough Council is now working with Zest to install 150 EV charging connectors across 35 streets in Warrington. Well, the locations have been carefully selected to serve areas where the need is greatest, where people don't typically have driveways for home charging. Now, that again is an important point. The houses, it's pretty obvious which house can and cannot have off-street parking or driveways. And what they seem to have done here is worked with Zest to identify those streets where they don't have off-street parking, can't charge their cars easily at home. Yeah, we can talk about gullies in pavements, but that's maybe not the way for some of them. And they're targeting them now. So 150 chargers going in, 35 streets. So if that works out, we're looking at about 4 or 5 chargers per street. Don't know how big the streets are, of course. This installation is funded partly by an Office for Zero Emission Vehicles, OZEV, Local EV Infrastructure, the LEVI grant, and that's £386,580, as partly by Zest Investment, giving a total of 1.2 million. Zest also will take responsibility for running the service over the next 15 years. There are no financial or operational costs for the Warrington Borough Council. Right, let's just go back into that because this is important. Warrington Borough Council don't have to pay anything towards this. There are grants for EV chargers and they will be taking advantage of those. Those grants come from central government. So the local borough council will not be funding these, therefore council taxpayers will not be funding them. So these chargers are going in at no cost to the residents of Warrington. They're also, I don't know who's specified this, but they're also committing Zest to looking after these chargers for the next 15 years. It's possible some people have learned from the early mistakes of paying people to install chargers but having no backup facility or warranty or repair or servicing or maintenance of any sort. Hence all the chargers that were broken down, which got the industry a very bad name. In this case, they're committed to 15 years of maintenance, servicing and repairs, which would indicate, we hope, that this means these are going to be working for the next 15 years and they're not just going to fall into disrepair. Anyway, these are going to go in starting in September this month, and they'll complement 52 already deployed in the Times Square multi-storey car park 6 months ago, back in May. Well, there's a new report out, and it's by the leading net zero data consultancy, a firm called Field Dynamics, and they're working with a number of people, including ZapMap, Ordnance Survey, and they're showing significant progress in the installation of electric EV charging infrastructure across Great Britain. However, the report also highlights ongoing disparities. Yes, talk about them, because I get so many comments about this part of the country's got nothing. Anyway, sorry. So they're recognising there are disparities in coverage affecting on-street households, which comprise 32.7% of all households in the country. End quote. Now, that's a very interesting statistic. This is not the EV industry saying this. This is a consultancy, a data consultancy, in coordination with ZapMap and Ordnance Survey. 68% of all households can charge at home. They have access to off-street parking or a parking area, and therefore only 32.7% of households in the country are totally excluded from this. Now, it is a very significant number. Nobody's disputing this. But in all industries, you do have to go with the mass. And in the case of EVs, the vast majority of people, twice as many as can't, can charge at home. So that's why there's so much emphasis on home charging tariffs and getting people to install chargers. So the report says key findings. Number one, overall progress. Average coverage across local authorities has increased from 17.2% 2022 to 24.8% in 2024. It's quite a big jump. Growth in charger locations. There's been a notable increase of over 60% in the number of charger locations between 2022 and 2024. And leading regions, London leads with 67% coverage of on-street households, significantly higher than the national average of 20%. That 20% is really quite sad. Outside London, Brighton and Hove, 83%, Coventry, 76%, Portsmouth, 58%. They're at the forefront. Other regional variations, Scotland has the highest average coverage, 28.7%, followed by England at 24.5% and Wales at 21.9%. But despite these advantages, significant disparities remain. In London, covered on-street households typically have more than 6 charging locations within a 5-minute walk, while the national average is less than 2. Additionally, 38 local authorities still cover less than 10% of their on-street households, underscoring the need for further development. And the Field Dynamics Managing Director Craig Stevenson commented, this report underscores the significant progress made by local authorities in expanding EV charging infrastructure. However, it also highlights the need for continued efforts to ensure equitable access to charging facilities across all regions. End of quote. And we wholeheartedly agree with that. Well, that's it for now. Just a quick update to let you know what's happening. We are in a strange situation. Everyone now is starting to report sales are down, apart from Chinese. Yeah, okay. The legacy auto, they are really struggling at the moment. People like Volkswagen, they reckon, the CEO, Oliver Bloom, said they've got 2 years to turn it round or they're out of business. Ford is scrapping a whole pile of plans. The number of companies have just closed their facilities, their joint ventures with China. And it extends into the EV world as well. Tesla sales are down about 15% this year, based on last year. Some of this is down to global economic restrictions. We do still have high inflation, high interest rates, and low growth, although the economic outlook is about the same as it was for 2023. Not exciting. The EV market is due for a massive shake-up in over the next 6 to 12 months as these budget EVs start coming in. There is still a market for cars, whether it's ICE or EV. And when these budget cars come in at £15,000, £20,000, £25,000 for pure EVs, that's going to rejuvenate the entire industry. Unfortunately, at the same time, that will also hasten the demise of the legacy ICE auto industry. But the charging's coming along nicely. We have a nice steady growth. We still have areas where it's very sad, and we have other areas where it's really booming. So over time, don't forget these grants have only been out for a couple of years to get these EV chargers installed. So this is important to realise that even if you started one a couple of years ago, some of the locations, it might take you a year or more to get your planning permission. It might then take a place in the queue for the DNO for getting the power there. And that could be a year or 2 years. So there's an awful lot that's bubbling along in the background. And we saw this recently with a number of Tesla superchargers, which have been more than 12 months in the making. So there's a lot more happening. It's not slowing down on the EV charging side. The world's biggest car market, which is China, has now gone all electric. It's virtually impossible now to buy ICE cars over there at all. Although if you do buy them, you can't get them licensed. The price of the license is extortionate and they have a very restricted number of them. So we've got China, we've got Norway, Sweden, a number of other countries like Netherlands, all booming away. We have UK still growing nicely. Germany's in a bit of a mess. Germany's still in a recession from last year. Yeah, they just stagnated. Things are not going well for them at the moment. And particularly now with the legacy auto, the VWs, the BMWs, the Audis, this is really going to hit them hard if Volkswagen are going to be shutting down factories inside of Germany. As a country, that's not good. So we'll see what happens, but the charging scene is improving and we welcome it. I'm Dave.